A Java class is strictly an inert blueprint. It outlines potential structure and behavior, but occupies no space in physical memory. For that blueprint to be useful, it has to be instantiated. This is the exact moment a concept is converted into a tangible object in the system's memory. But reserving space in the system's memory is only the first step. For that object to be stable and usable, it requires an initial structural state. This is where the constructor operates. It is a specialized initialization routine that executes in the precise millisecond between allocating the memory and actually using the object. Unlike standard methods, which dictate how an object behaves over its lifetime, constructors are bound exclusively to its birth. To build reliable Java applications, we need to examine the strict rules governing these initialization blocks, observe how the system compensates when we forget them, and see how we can multiply them for flexibility. Mastering these rules ensures that every object in your program begins its life cycle in a valid, predictable state. When the Java virtual machine processes your code, it requires strict structural flags to distinguish an initialization block from a standard behavioral method. This comparison table shows the syntax rules. Notice the bottom row. A constructor must perfectly mirror its exact class name. Moving up, methods return values, but constructors inherently lack a return type. They do not even return void. Accidentally adding a return type completely demotes the constructor to a standard method. Next is invocation. Standard methods use explicit invocation, requiring manual programmer commands. But constructors operate via implicit invocation, triggering automatically and invisibly exactly when you use the new keyword. Looking at the top row, the operational distinction is clear. A method simply runs a collection of statements. A constructor is uniquely designed to instantiate a newly created object. These rigid syntax constraints act as system guardrails. They guarantee the constructor serves exclusively as a one-time setup protocol, incapable of being re-triggered later in the object's lifecycle. Since initialization is mandatory, a missing code paradox emerges. What happens if a developer compiles a class with absolutely no constructor written? Consider this basic dog class diagram. We have raw instance variables for name and age, but no setup instructions. As the JVM compiler scans and detects this absence, it dynamically injects a system-defined default constructor directly into the compiled bytecode. This invisible, no-argument block executes immediately, mapping its output to the instance variables. Because it has no custom instructions, the system forces a baseline state. String variables default to null and integers to 0. While this automatic safety net prevents the application from crashing, initializing objects to null and 0 is rarely the desired starting state. This code snippet demonstrates the developer's override capability. Focus specifically on the add_demo1 block nested directly inside the class structure. By explicitly writing out this user-defined default constructor, we halt the JVM's automatic injection sequence completely. Inside the block, the integer values are hard-coded, setting A to 10 and B to 5. The developer now controls the precise baseline state of the object. Relying on system defaults introduces unnecessary risk. Writing explicit default constructors is a required defensive programming tactic to ensure objects boot up predictably. A default constructor, even a user-defined one, has a strict limitation. It dictates a single, rigid starting state for every object created from that class. Java solves this with the Parameterized Constructor. This accepts external arguments at the exact moment of instantiation, allowing you to dynamically configure the object's variables. To handle multiple distinct starting conditions, we use Constructor Overloading, the architectural practice of housing multiple constructor variations simultaneously within a single class. This split-screen diagram maps the process. The right side houses 3 distinct constructors, a default, a 2-parameter, and a 3-parameter version. On the left, issuing a basic new example call routes execution directly to the no-argument default constructor block. When the call is new example 1212, the JVM bypasses the default setup and routes specifically to the constructor built to handle 2 integers, and the call providing 1, 2, and 13 routes exclusively to the 3-integer constructor. The JVM uses a routing mechanism based on the constructor's signature. It treats overloaded constructors as highly unique entities, evaluating them strictly by the number and data type of the parameters they accept. Constructor overloading creates a highly flexible template. Systems can now boot up objects with tailored data without causing naming collisions or initialization errors. This chart synthesizes the entire decision tree of object creation. Starting the moment the new keyword is invoked, the execution hits a primary decision node. Is a constructor defined by the user? If execution heads down the no pathway, the JVM steps in. It automatically injects the system-defined default constructor, yielding baseline default values. If execution takes the yes pathway, it enters the overloading matrix. The system evaluates the parameter signature and routes execution to the exact matching code block. This defines the unbreakable law of Java object creation. Remember, every single time a new object is created in memory, at least one constructor is definitively invoked. Defining these initialization routines ensures that every object starts in a stable state. This precision prevents the runtime errors and null pointer exceptions that occur when code attempts to access uninitialized memory.